How do you manage book inventory as an author? That's a great question. There's quite a few things that go into it, and that's exactly what we'll be talking about today. Stay tuned. Hi, I'm MK Williams. I'm an author and independent publisher. I love sharing all my insights about self-publishing with you. Before I get started on today's topic, please be sure to hit the subscribe button below. That way you can be here every week when I release new videos all about self-publishing and how to make a career out of being an author. So today we're going to go over book inventory. It sounds a little dull, like inventory, but as an author, it's pretty important to make sure that you have books in stock in case somebody wants to buy one from you. You need to send one out to an influencer, but you don't want to necessarily have so many that it's cumbersome, and you don't want to have so few that you're scrambling. You have to put in a rush order and pay extra for shipping to get books to you print on demand. So today I'm going to go over what I use for my system to manage this inventory and what I make sure I have in stock. I did some videos earlier this year on how to sell your books directly, and so that helps with that, but also just good to have in case an influencer finally responds to you and says, yep, I'll review your book. Any number of other things can come up beyond just selling the book that can help with promotion, so it's good to have those books in stock for inventory. So way back in the early days of self-publishing, authors would have to do offset runs for their print books and sell them door to door or bookstore to bookstore. And so there are these photos of these authors, even as early as a decade ago, who would just be in their garage with boxes behind them and one of their books, because that's what they had to do. They had to do this huge run. Thankfully, with print on demand, we don't have to do that anymore. So that makes it a bit easier where you can just order what you need, but then you may not always have everything on hand. So the first thing you need for book inventory is, surprise, surprise, books. So now that I have 8 books that are out and released to the world, I try to always order 10 of the popular ones to have those on hand. So there's some books I have that aren't as popular, that's fine. But those that I know that continue to sell, I do make sure to replenish that. I've had one case now where I ran out of stock on a book and I was like, need to mark that that's out of stock and get another order going. So it's really important to have the books on hand. Usually when the book is first released, I'll do one big order because I know I'll have people who want to pre-order signed copies. I'll want a copy for myself. I'll want to do photos with the books to put that out, which I've done a video on as well of what photos to take with your books and what to do once you get your author copies. I need to send a copy to the Library of Congress. So there's several things I need to do with the books when the first order comes in. And I don't necessarily want to have to order them one at a time. I just want to have some in stock, and then I'll just have a few extras that I can promote over the next couple months after the book is released and say, hey, I still have these in stock. So what are the other supplies that you need, right? So you're thinking you have this inventory, well, you have to get that book to someone somehow. And so that is where you have your supplies. So the most important thing you're going to need are what I call bubble mailers. And you can actually just search for these on Walmart or Amazon or really anywhere. And so these are manila envelopes. You can get them in different fun colors and styles. I just get the manila ones because I send books for myself and also for my clients, and I wouldn't necessarily want to get like shiny silver ones for my books. And then like my client's like, why did you use this? This doesn't match my brand. So I just get plain ones. Nobody's complained. You can also get like stickers to jazz them up on the back. So that way, if you are sending for multiple brands, like maybe you're an author with multiple pen names, or you're like me and you work with several clients as well, you could just get different stickers for the back to make it seem a little personal. So that's an option too. But these bubble mailers are great. And what I like about them is it's going to protect the book from being damaged, right? Like this book's going to be run through systems. And especially if it's a paperback, you don't want the book to show up with like the nice sharp edge of the book is like curved because it's gone through too many things. And you also don't want it to get wet because that kind of ruins paper. And so this is a nice plastic lining in here. So I always want to use the bubble mailers when I'm sending books, unless I'm sending a lot and I have to use a box, in which case I'm going to wrap the books in plastic because I don't want them to get damaged in a cardboard box if the cardboard box gets wet. So I usually keep these 8.5 by 11 manila bubble mailers in stock for media mail. I have like 25 of these right now, but I'm about to a big mailing, so those will go down. So I always do those. Now that 8.5 by 11 measures the inside of the mailer. So if I have a book, and I'm going to use some of my client books here to give them a little shout out. So if I have a book that's 6x9 or smaller, that can easily fit into this bubble mailer, no problem. And then for whatever reason, if I feel like I need to do a priority mail, like a rush order to an influencer or somebody who wrote the foreword to a book or something like that, you can actually get these priority mailers from the United States Postal Service for free. You do have to order them ahead of time, but they'll send you the mailer for free because it's a flat rate when you do ship with it. So I could just drop the book in, address it, show up to the post office, and they're going to tell me exactly what this costs. So I don't have to do anything extra. It's one flat rate. So that's why the envelope is free in this case. These I have to pay for from Amazon or Walmart or Office Max, wherever. These are free. Now, if for whatever reason you're thinking, well, that's great, but my book is 8.5 by 11 because it's a workbook, which I've actually produced several workbooks now, you need to have a bigger envelope. And in that case, because if it's already 8.5 by 11 and the interior size here is 8.5 by 11, it's not going to work. It's going to be too squished and the book is almost going to go like this inside. It's going to mess up. It's not going to be pretty when the end user gets it, and you want them to have that good experience when they're opening it. So then you need to get bigger envelopes, which you do have to pay for. So the priority free envelopes, even though it's more expensive to mail, this is the largest size you can get for the envelopes. You could get boxes that are bigger, but again, unless you're mailing a bunch of books all in one order, doesn't always make sense. So you can get larger bubble mailers from the USPS, and you can get these online too. I like to get them from USPS because they're a little less expensive. They don't look as nice, but they get the job done. So this is a real big papa, and so this was one of the times where I knew I had to do a bunch of mailings for this specific workbook, and I was like, I don't know what to do. And this was pre-COVID, so I was able to go to the post office, and I just was the biggest bubble mailer that they have. This is 12.5 by 19. This is ginormous. So I have actually been able to fit up to 5 of these workbooks in here, just to be able to get it mailed out like a big bulk order to a school or a homeschool circle. But then I did have to pay for the envelope. And so when you pay at the post office, they put this little stamp on it. It says that you bought it. So then you aren't paying for the envelope again when you go to mail it. And then I went online at the USPS after COVID, and I was like, there has to be a better size. And so I found the 10.5 by 16. So again, I did have to pay for these envelopes, but they weren't that expensive. And now I have them in stock for the various workbooks that I've actually produced for different clients. So that is also part of managing your inventory. So you have to have a way to get the book to people, and that includes mailers. So I mentioned stickers really briefly before, making your packaging look nicer. I've also just considered buying a printer so I can just print out the mailing labels and schedule a USPS pickup. So for a while I was really resisting getting a printer. I may end up doing that just because running to the post office during a pandemic has been stressful and I don't want to have to do that. So we're going to see if we can make it a bit easier, especially after the baby arrives, just to have a printer. I can print out the label, schedule a pickup, don't have to worry about it. And I have a spreadsheet that actually tracks all of my inventory. So the books, the mailers, so that way I know the unit cost of each book. So if somebody goes onto my online order form and wants to order a signed copy of one of my books, I charge the same price to have it autographed because I pay a much lower author cost when I order copies myself. So I try to not pass along extra things to the end consumer if I don't have to. Now, if they told me they want priority, I'd be like, we're going to have to talk about that extra shipping cost. But I always make sure I have that listed so I know, okay, I have 3 of this book, I have 2 of this book, I have 5 of this book, I have this many mailers left, so I'm not like, okay, it's all ready to go, and I'm like, I don't have any mailers, oops. So I always keep track of that, and then I end up having to use that at the end of the year for tax purposes too. So in the United States, as a business owner, I can mark what my inventory was at the beginning of the year, and then at the end of the year for depreciation and all kinds of fancy tax things, but I do have to put that in, so I keep track of that. So it helps me at tax time. It helps me just to know what I have in stock, what I don't have in stock. And that's how I manage my inventory. So I know what the unit cost of each of my books is, what the unit cost of each of my mailers is. So that way when I use them, I understand the true revenue that I'm generating from that mailing. So I'm not just like, well, they paid, the $11.99, so I guess I made $11.99. Like, nope, I had to pay for shipping, I had to pay for all these other things. So I always make sure that's in there, so I understand the true delta and what I'm really making as an author. Because the whole point of me being in business is to stay in business. So I have to know that. So that is how I manage my inventory. I have tracking of all of my books, my client books that are here, as well as my envelope stash and supply. That's pretty much what I do there. And then I also have links to be able to purchase autographed copies below. If you're looking at this and you're interested and you're like, wow, that sounds really cool, I would love an autographed copy. Definitely send me one of your really awesome manila envelopes with a book in it. So if you found this information helpful, or if you have more questions, please let me know below in the comments. I always love to hear from you, and I always want to help you more if I can. So if you did like this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and don't forget to hit subscribe. That lets YouTube know that you're getting value from the videos I'm putting out and helps to get it in front of other authors like us. Now you can get back to writing your book.